Hello YouTubers and fellow Doctor Who fans, and finally welcome to my review of Dark Eyes 3. I know it's been quite a long time since I did Dark Eyes 2 review, but yeah, let's just get on with it anyway. The cover for this box set features Paul McGann, who plays the 8th Doctor, and Alex McQueen, who plays the Master in this box set. It's a pretty simple cover, to be completely honest with you. You've got the Big Finish logo there at the top left. You've got the revised classic series Doctor Who logo just at the top. Like I said, you've got the Doctor and the Master there. We've got this vortex in the background, and it just says at the bottom there, Dark Eyes 3, starring Paul McGann, Ruth Bradley, Nicola Walker, Natalie Burt, and Alex McQueen. If we take a look at the top of the box set, it just says Doctor Who Dark Eyes 3, and at the bottom it gives you some legal garb. And if you look at the sides, again, this includes 4 CD cases, 4 stories, just like the other box sets in the Dark Eyes range. This includes The Death of Hope, The Reviled, Master Plan, and finally Rule of the Eminence. Again, we have a nice picture of the Doctor and the Master here, and they haven't just simply reused the picture which you see on the front of the box either, which I think is quite good that they've done that. And at the bottom there it just says number 3, seeing as this is the 3rd Dark Eyes box set. And finally we just take a look at the back of what this box set looks like. You can't really see this on camera as I'm filming, but there are DNA strands in the background, and it just gives you a description really of what this box set is all about. And here are the 4 CD cases, one case of course representing each story. First off, we've got The Death of Hope, which is the first story in the box set, and it's quite an odd way to start the box set at the very least. I'll go more into that in just a sec. First off, let's just take a look at the front cover for this. We've got Sally Armstrong, who makes another appearance in this box set. She's played by Natalie Burt. We have the Master, who's played by Alex McQueen. He plays the Master in every story in this box set, so the Master appears in every story, which is a good thing because I really do like his Master. And it's quite weird, he's wearing a Stetson in this, and you've got a picture here of Molly O'Sullivan surrounded by strands of DNA, and it seems like they are in a sort of Wild West background. Quite a decent cover for The Death of Hope, written by Matt Fitton. Here's what the back of each CD case looks like. So as always, you've got a bio of what this story is all about, as well as information about the cast. The running time for this is 60 minutes approx. Each story in this box set runs for about 60 minutes if you exclude special features. Here we have the writer's notes by Matt Fitton, who wrote this story, and this is kindly dedicated to the memory of Paul Spragg, who sadly passed away just before this box set was released. Paul Spragg worked on the first 2 Dark Eyes box sets, and if you just open this up, you've got some nice artwork for this story. You've got a nice picture again of the Master, Sally and Molly, again in that sort of wild western background, which I think is really nice. And you've got this thing here which I take is the Master's TARDIS. I find it really weird that the Master's wearing a Stetson in this. So yeah, here's the disc. If you just take the disc out, it has an advertisement for the first 2 Dark Eyes box sets. So we have Dark Eyes 1 and Dark Eyes 2, which are available to order from the Big Finish website as well as download. To be honest, The Death of Hope is an odd way to open this box set. It's a Dr. Light story. It isn't exactly the beginning I was expecting when I was going into this box set. After the end which we had from Dark Eyes 2, it was a nice cliffhanger that they left us on. I don't know, to be honest, the way this started with Dark Eyes 3, it was just a bit odd. The best thing about this story, hands down, is the Master, and I probably would say this for the box set as a whole. I think Alex McQueen puts in a really tremendous performance in as the Master. He's actually one of my favourite Masters, and it's a real shame that he's never appeared as a Master on television, as I really do feel that he does the character some sort of justice. It's a nice homage to the classic Masters, even though the actor isn't trying to imitate any of them at all. He's just trying to put his own take into them. He's even said in the behind-the-scenes documentary, which comes in Rule of the Eminence, that he always wanted to play a villain, and I really do think that Alex McQueen does an excellent job, and bravo to him, to be honest. I prefer this Master to Michelle Gomez's Missy. I just don't know why. I think it's just because he's written a lot better. Letley Burt returns as Sally Armstrong. She has quite a bit to do in this box set. And we've got Molly O'Sullivan. She doesn't have a lot to do, which is kind of a letdown, seeing as Molly O'Sullivan is more or less the title character in this whole saga, because she is the character with the dark eyes. The whole dark eyes thing, though, is expanded on throughout the box set as we get the return from the Eminence. The Eminence are the real big bad alongside the Master in this box set. The Daleks are completely absent from this box set. The Eminence make for a really good villain, and once again, this story, along with all the other stories, including the final story, Rule of the Eminence, just show how much of a good villain they can be, even though they have never appeared on television. Again, they are a Big Finish exclusive monster, and I think that the writing team did quite a good job with them in this box set. But on the whole, The Death of Hope, like I said, it's quite an odd way to start this box set, seeing as the Doctor hardly appears in it. It's a Doctor Light story, which I'm all fine with, because they've done it before. They've done it on television with stories like Blink, which is one of my favourite stories. But I think to start a box set, especially after the ending we got with Dark Eyes 2, I would have much preferred it if they had this maybe as the second or the third story in the box set. I thought starting the box set with a Dr. Light story was kind of odd. In one way it works, but in another it doesn't. The main character in this story is probably the Master, as the whole dynamic between him and Molly O'Sullivan, it's completely changed. He basically takes the role of what the Doctor does. The Doctor hardly has anything. I think he only has about 2 or 3 scenes in the whole thing. That's the only thing I have to say, really. I'm not going to spoil much for this story, because some of you obviously may have never listened to this and you maybe wanted to listen to it. But I'd say that The Death of Hope is quite an average way to start up the box set. It's very average if you compare it to the tremendous start what we got with the start of the very first Dark Eyes box set with The Great War. That was an absolutely exceptional beginning to the whole saga. Here, I feel like all of that is lost. It's alright, it does tick a few boxes, but I just found it very average. So for that, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. The next story in this box set is The Reviled, which sees the return of Nicola Walker as Liv Chenka. And here we have the Doctor and Liv in a forest background. Thankfully, the Doctor has much more to do here. It's more like a Doctor Who story compared to The Death of Hope, which is good. And you've got these claw arms in the background there as well, which I suppose are probably the aliens that feature in this story. Here you've got the director's notes by Ken Bentley, and here you've got some nice imagery from the planet Ramosa, which is the main jungle setting which I mentioned, which is on the front cover of this. And you've got Dr. Sally Armstrong alongside Liv Chenka. Sally Armstrong Her character here compared to her character from Dark Eyes 1 is completely different, but the explanation is absolutely perfect. I quite like how her character is completely changed compared to how she was from Dark Eyes 1 in Fugitives. You can see there's a ship in the background. Just take the disc out. You've got some advertisements here for the first 2 series of the 8th Doctor Adventures. I think The Reviled truly gets the ball rolling for this box set. It had quite a slow beginning with the Death of Hope. Stuff did happen towards the end of that story, but I just felt somewhat a little bit disappointed with the start to this box set. I think The Reviled may have been a better beginning to the box set, albeit with a few changes to the script, obviously. We have the return of Liv Chenka, and if I'm completely honest with you, I don't know what it is. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me about this, but Liv Chenka, she isn't exactly the most charismatic character in the whole Doctor Who universe. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the acting or just the way she's written. It's just like the stuff that's written for her is so depressing, because we got a storyline with her that goes all the way back to the second box set. Yeah, it's just quite a depressing little story arc around her character. I don't know if it's that or anything else, but when you get to Dark Eyes 3, I just don't feel like invested for the character. I know it sounds bad, but I just don't really care. So say if she died, then I don't know, I wouldn't feel like much would have been lost. It sounds pretty bad, that, but I don't know. That's just how I feel about the character. As for the Doctor, he's back in action in this story, and Paul McGann has a lot to do. Basically, he just has to help out this alien race, and we get to learn more about the Eminence once again, this Eminence war, because the Eminence are at war with these people, and you get to learn more about the Infinite Warriors and things. And it's just quite a good story, really. I think things truly get really good in this story again after the false beginning of this box set. And for that, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10, purely because it has a nice twist towards the end as well. But at the same time, the cliffhanger is a tiny little bit odd. But for the most part, yeah, Reviled, that's when things start to get good again. Next up is Master Plan, which is probably the best story out of this box set. We have the Doctor and the Master here inside a spaceship. Here we have the producer's notes by David Richardson. Again, most of this is dedicated to Paul Spragg, who of course was very influential inside Big Finish. And here we have some nice art of the Doctor and the Master inside the ship. It's just really brilliant. I would have liked this to be on the front cover, actually. And behind the disc, we've got another advertisement for the 8th Doctor Adventures, and it is for the other 2 series, Series 3 and Series 4. Master Plan, I really like this. For one thing, the interaction between the Doctor and the Master, along with more or less everything else that happens in this story. We get to learn about the Master's motivations in this, and you get an insight into the Doctor's relationship with the Master when they have a long conversation in a ship which is about to crash. I just really like when they do this in Doctor Who. I'm not just talking about in audios, I'm just talking about in general. When they have some character pieces in Doctor Who, especially when it comes to characters like the Master. Some people may or may not like the Master, depending on the way they're interpreted, but I think the way that Paul McGann and Alex McQueen bounce off each other is really good. And it's really good for Paul McGann's Doctor, because before this, the only time he really encountered the Master properly was in his only TV appearance, before Night of the Doctor, obviously, which was the TV movie. And in that, obviously, we had Eric Roberts, and the less is said about his Master, the better. They kind of ruined the character, nearly. But thankfully, Alex McQueen, yeah, he just knocks it out of the park here with his performance. Just the way they interact and everything, it's just brilliant. And you've got a nice lead up to the final story in this. I won't say that much, but there are a few events that take place in this which, you know, it made me excited to listen to the final story in this box set. It's easily the best story in the box set. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It's just absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed it. And now it's time to have a look at the final story in this box set, which is Rule of the Eminence. On the front we have the Master, the Doctor, and finally Molly O'Sullivan at the centre here. And they have a city in the background, and basically that's it. It's set in the far future on Earth. The art inside this one has the Master along with these people who also have dark eyes. I take it that these are part of the Infinite Warrior race, which follow the Eminence. And here we have disc 1, and if you just pull this out like so, you get to see disc 2 as well, which is actually the bonus disc for the whole box set. And this has the behind the scenes documentary, which lasts about an hour. And you've got just an advertisement for monthly releases from Big Finish. So we have Eldred Must Die, Afterlife, Scavenger, Masquerade, Signs and Wonders, and The Widow's Assassin. Overall, Rule of the Eminence is a good way to end the box set, and I'd say it's probably second to Master Plan. Yeah, I think it was a good way to end the box set. I'm going to immediately give this a score of 8 out of 10. I was quite satisfied with the way it ended. I thought that it tied up quite a few things. In fact, it could have been a good way to tie up the whole saga, but as we all know, there is a Dark Eyes 4, so more stuff happens after this. But there are a few things that are tied up with this. Thankfully, the Master's plans do get foiled. I will not say how they get foiled. That is why you have to listen to this, if you haven't already. And we get quite a few good things with the Eminence. Paul McGann puts in a truly good performance. Well, he always does anyway. I don't really need to say that. We get Molly, who returns in this, and it's quite surprising. She's hardly appeared in this box set. She only appears in this and The Death of Hope, so that's 2 out of the 4 stories. And most of the action in the middle doesn't feature Molly at all. She's only in the beginning at the end. And even then, in the stories that she appears in, she hardly has any time whatsoever, which is a real shame. Liv Chenka has more to do in this box set, and arguably she is not the main companion out of the whole box set. In fact, if you look at the cast list here on the side here, it says Paul McGann and Ruth Bradley. Ruth Bradley plays Molly, and then Nicola Walker. And to me, Nicola Walker is treated as if she is the proper companion now for the 8th Doctor instead of Molly. It's quite odd, seeing as Molly is, well, I said it before, I'll say it again. She more or less is the title character. She has been ever since the very start of this series with Dark Eyes 1. I think that this is a good end to this box set, though. I won't spoil how it ends. You'll have to see that for yourself, or hear it for yourself, I should say. But I feel that, yeah, this is the second best story out of the box set, and it's quite a satisfying conclusion to Dark Eyes 3. On the whole, though, if I had to compare this box set to the first two box sets, it sounds very bad, but this isn't as good as either Dark Eyes 1 or Dark Eyes. I know I've probably sounded a bit negative with that statement I've just made, but if I give this an overall score, I will give it an 8 out of 10, because there are some really good things about this box set. Even though I consider this to be weaker than the first two Dark Eyes box sets, there are quite a few redeeming factors, but at the same time, there's just a few things that fall a little bit short, and this, I don't know why. It's probably due to the fact that we started off very oddly with the death of Hope, which is probably my least favourite story. But there's no bad stories in this box set whatsoever. They're all good in their own way, but the death of Hope is definitely the weakest. But the best thing about this is the Master, and that's why we've got Master Plan, which I consider to be the best story out of the box set, because it explores a lot more of the Doctor and the Master's relationship. It explores both of their pasts, which is something that even the TV series is guilty of not even doing, especially nowadays. Dark Eyes 3 fails to live up to the standards which were set by the first Dark Eyes box set, and I could say maybe the second box set is guilty of this as well, but I actually quite liked the second box set, and I thought that that was a good successor to the first box set. The first Dark Eyes box set is still the best one in my eyes. That's not to say that I don't like this box set either, but I just think that if you compare this one to the first two box sets, I don't think that it is as good. It doesn't feel as groundbreaking. I didn't get that wow factor from it. I don't know if it's because it's the third one and maybe they might be running out of ideas or something. I don't think it's that, because there's still some good stuff that happened in this box set, and you've got the Eminence, which I think is a brilliant creation. It's a Big Finish original monster. They wanted to do something original, which I think is good. But while they're at it, they brought the Master into the mix. They've got their own Master in the form of Alex McQueen, and he's absolutely terrific. I just feel that it's probably just the stories that feature in this box set. They're not as groundbreaking as what we got in the first two box sets, especially the first one. But it's still good though. If you enjoyed listening to the first two box sets, then I can't see any reason why you shouldn't pick this one up. It all depends on what your personal tastes are. For me, Dark Eyes 3 falls just a tad short of being as groundbreaking as the first one. But is this my least favourite Dark Eyes box set? Well, you'll have to find that out when very soon I shall be taking a look at the final box set in the Dark Eyes series, Dark Eyes 4. So stay tuned for that. That will be coming soon to this channel. For now, I hope you're all having a great day, and I shall see you next time.